What's up, everybody? Hey, on this episode we adjust the windows to the T-top seals. Okay, so welcome to part 3 of the T-top seal replacement videos. This is part 3 of 3. This is the last series. We are completing the install and adjusting the window seals to make sure that no water and air leaks. However, this is a huge disclaimer. So, disclaimer right now is that I am adjusting these windows to resolve some other issues with the car that I'm choosing to not resolve in this video. These issues I'm talking about are primarily the door hinges. The door hinge pins themselves are worn out. Therefore, the door itself has slowly started falling down towards the hinge area, away from the hinge area. What that means is a lot of that gap that I'm seeing above on the back end of the door, a lot of it is just from the door itself is falling down. The seals have now been refreshened and they are now somewhat square. The door's falling out. So I'm going to show you how to adjust the windows, and adjusting the windows only is what I will show you. I'm also doing this to compensate for the other issues in the door. Let's be honest, the whole door needs to be rebuilt. I need new bushings on the windows themselves. That would keep a lot of the play in the window, keep it nice and solid up and down. There's 2 on each side, both need replaced on mine. So I'm going to have to get those on order, as well as some door hinge pins to have the door aligned. That's why the passenger door needs to be slammed as hard as it does, because it actually falls down like this, and then when you slam it, the catch lifts it back up. So anyways, I'm going to show you guys exactly how to adjust these windows to the sills and how they work on these Mustangs. It's a learning experience for me. It's the first time I've done it. I just got this door aligned pretty well, and yeah, I'll show you guys. Let's check it out before we get started on the other side. Okay guys, if you haven't noticed, the hood has been painted. It looks absolutely perfect. So here are the door seals on the passenger side. You can see I just slammed it. I have not actually gone over here and say pull this rubber out or anything like that. As you can see, it's sitting in the groove all the way to about right here. And I'm not going to lie, there is a little bit of a gap right there as it seals back up through here and along the edge. So another disclaimer number 2 here. I could probably get rid of that gap just a little bit by raising more to the back of the door. Raising the door or raising the back of the window some more to help fill some of this gap and push this window up against the seal some more. However, the stop on my car is all the way up. No, it's not a door from a hatch that's been cut and converted. The door is sagging. But I've done a couple things to help mitigate that gap. One thing is use a little bit of foam underneath the inside of the seal here. So I've pulled this out and I've actually put a little layer of single-sided stick foam in the middle section here, because what happened was whenever I shut it, there was a low spot from here to about here, and you can see it still kind of is. It helps for me if when you close it you kind of put some pressure on the window. It helps seal it up into this top area here. So this side is pretty good. It's actually, you know, it's touching the rubber and it's much more solid now than it used to. So anyways, let's get started on the driver's side and I'll show you what I did to adjust this window. Okay, the tools you're going to need are this manual right here. This manual is a T-top and waterproof seal procedure. There is a book out there. You can purchase this book. They make copies of it. This explains how to install an entire T-top seal in these cars and to adjust the mirrors. This one is blown out. I've got a few pages printed out here that I thought were important. Gives you some examples of if the door or window is sitting a certain way, what screws to adjust it. But the most important one is this guy right here. If you want to pause your video and take a screenshot, you are more than welcome to right now. So if this is important, you need this water tube. I will put a link down below in the description on where you can just go online and download this printout like I did. Next thing okay, get yourself a 7/16 socket and wrench. Get yourself a 3/8 driver of some sort, either a socket or a screwdriver like I've got, and again it's 3/8. And lastly, you're going to need your plastic trim removal tool. That and a set of gloves so you don't get your hands greasy and all of the door greasings. And yeah, let's get to it. That's all you need. Okay guys, make sure you get your T-tops on. You notice that this is how this side ended up sealing. We've got contact with the rubber and just a little bit of a gap here. I mean a little tiny bit. So this stuff is still flexible. I can still move it a little bit. It may take some massaging to get all this stuff worked up in place. You got something to work on. Get nice and comfortable for this. Okay guys. Alright, so I like to work from the top down, and if your car's anything like mine, it's probably missing a lot of screws. This has got 2 holes right here, but one of them's just, you know, barely even on here. But just take your mirror adjuster off. You got adjustable mirrors. Pop that to the side. Go ahead and take off the door handle screw. And slide off your door handle cup. Okay. This is for your power windows. The bottom screw out. Place it aside. Okay. Now your top screw up here is going to be a Phillips screw. Get yourself a 3/8 driver. Once you got all your hardware off, your door panel should just come right off. You can take these electrical connections, and these have 4 clips on them, 2 on each side. Just kind of gently push them in to pop them out of the door panel. This stuff's old, guys. Please don't break it. Okay. Lift up. Watch your door panel over there. Lift up in the back. There you go. Okay, set it aside. Okay, to get the passenger door as close as it was, and I don't know if you guys remember how far off that it was, but it was pretty far off. On that one, I had to adjust both the front and the rear stops. So these are the 4 screws that we're going to be concentrating on, because this door is really similar. In fact, the front is right into the groove. The front looks pretty good. The I guess you call it the bow in the door, whether it's falling forward into the car or outward. So the outside of the car was also pretty good on the car, so I'm not going to mess with that. However, the back of the car has a gap about this much in the window glass. So what you want to do is just make sure you've got access and your key is on. To mess with the door. Now, again, I want to just really emphasize something that's super important. Notice the play. The play in this car is because my bushings here are shot. And the play is what's causing this window to move so much forward and out. Now, whenever it reaches the bump stop, the door will push up and keep the window. The window will push up to right up to the stops and keep the window from falling like this here. Loud. So now the door window, you can see, is nice. Door window glass here is nice and solid. It moves the door. So ignore the loud screeching sounds. We do need to lubricate this thing, but in the meantime, we're just going to go ahead and adjust the stops on it. So let's go ahead and keep it up and shut the door and see where we're at. On the passenger side, I think I opened and shut the door probably 50, 60 times, and it could have been a lot more. Like I said, that door hinge was really loose. I want to show you guys this hinge. If you test your hood hinges, just go to the back of the door and lift up on it. This one's not that bad. There is a little bit of play. Right there, you can see it. So they do need to replace. There's a door pin inside your hinge, and there's bushings that the pin slides into. That would get this play completely away and actually make it solid. So as soon as you lift the door up here, the car would start moving before the door itself moves. So there's a little bit of play here. Not as bad as the passenger side. The passenger side is quite a bit worse. There's a big clunk in it when you lift the door up. So let's go ahead and see shut it here. Make sure your window's all the way up. You're going to be rolling this thing up and down a lot. On the first click, like that. And let me show you guys what we're looking for here. Okay, and what we're looking for is contact with here and contact into the first groove so that when the door is fully shut, the window glass should push up into the groove and seal. So you can see I'm bumping here a little bit, so probably the front is a little bit too high. But this is what we're really concerned about here, is this massive, massive gap, which didn't really even show up until the door was, the new seals were replaced. But there's two things wrong here. The door gap is here, and this glass is way too far back. Notice the taper in the seal, so it's touching the door glass, but however it shrinks really quick right here. So moving the bump stop in the back up is also going to tilt the glass like this. So the whole glass is going to tilt this way and hopefully move this out from the back. That's a pretty large adjustment. I could put my whole hand in there. We're looking at about 1 inch up. So let's go ahead and move that bump stop up quite a bit and see where we're at and just go from there. Okay, first thing you want to do, you don't have to lower the window down all the way, but let's just lower it down just a little bit to relieve pressure off your stops. Oh, hold on. Okay. And let's kind of go over the adjustments here. These two screws basically hold an L-shaped bracket here. You've got a stop on this side and this side inside of your window. That's basically on the glass frame. Those stops come up and they stop up against these L-shaped brackets. You can adjust them up, down on either side, and that adjusts when the glass stops, how far up and how far down it stops in the front and back of the car. Also, if you increase one up or down, it's also going to push the glass a little bit that way, and vice versa. If you adjust the front one, it's going to push it back a little bit. And this screw right here, guys, this screw is going to be your fore and aft adjustment. This is directly connected to your alignment bar, where your sliders go on to and where your bushings ride on. These also need to be replaced on mine. This would get a lot of your shakiness and movement out of the window when it's not on the stop. So as it goes down, it's going to kind of do this sort of bit, and when it goes back up, it's going to hits the stops and it's going to be solid. This is going to replace, or this adjusts your forward and aft. So if you loosen this screw, it's going to allow you to move this bar forward and backwards this way and allow the glass to either be pushed up against the rubber seal by your door or by your rearview mirror or back towards more the seal. We know this is just way far down, so the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is get my 1/2 inch socket and loosen this up. Okay, and as you can see, you can feel I got my hand behind there with an L-shaped bracket resting on top of my hand, so I'm holding it, and as I loosen it, I can slide up the bracket. That way I don't let it fall, and you can make the adjustments in small increments at a time. So it's loose. Okay. And I'm telling you right now, I slid that up quite a lot. I'm going to go ahead and lock down the bottom one. This is what I'm talking about. So this is how much I've raised the back of the glass. I know it's off quite a bit, so let's just see where we're at here. Okay. Now that's better. Now what I've done is push the front up some more, because I've actually raised the whole glass up by adjusting the back one up so much. What we're going to have to do is raise it up a little bit more probably, but go ahead and lower this side down to level the glass out a little bit, because it looks like we're actually okay down here until you get to this. Now we're only on the first click, so we want to go ahead and shut it all the way. Okay. Yep, now that we've shut it all the way, we've really pushed this guy up into your door sill, so that's too much, and we've got quite a bit of a gap here. So what we're going to want to do is bring the front down and bring the back up just a little more. However, if you can tell, we've corrected now the part of it rubbing. It can still come up this way just a little bit more, but this taper is much less noticeable, so it did exactly what I thought it would do, and bumping this up moved the glass out like this as well. Anyways, let's lower the front down and raise it back up just a little bit more and see where we're at. Okay, after moving the glass back a little bit, I think it's back as much as it needs to go. We've got a little bit of a now taper here, which means the front could come up a little bit. We can't really do that, or we can bring the top part down just a little bit. However, I'm right up against the seal here, and I'm up against this back seal here, and all the way along here. I'm also firmly pressed up against the seal up in here. Even though there's a little bit of gap here, the seal behind it is firm and in it, and this actually is closing in without me pushing on the glass or doing anything crazy when I shut the door. So I got a pretty decent line through here. There's a little bit of a squish here, but what the problem I still have, this is exactly what I had on the other side, is I've got a little bit of a bow. And what you can do to really test this, get yourself a piece of paper and slide it in. Now clearly that's a water leak. As I go over on this side, it's nice and tight and it stops right there. And the same with this side, you can see it stops almost dead right in that corner there. So I've got this gap here in the center, a full sheet of paper gap. Another thing you can do to test this is go ahead and put the piece of paper in the door and shut it. Of course, I gotta shut it hard. Okay, and then notice how the paper folded over. This I can't pull out at all. So that's going to be a watertight seal all the way along the front of the window here. Okay, same with the passenger side. I went ahead and peeled some of the glue off here, and we peeled this back just enough to get a strip in here. It helps to bring this down, because if you remember, this has a little bit of a bow to it. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's the T-tops, you know, that are flexing or something similar. They seem solid. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and put a strip in here, and hopefully it lines up the window much better. Okay, I'm taking a short piece of window strip with a sticky adhesive side, and what I've done is slice it down the center to give myself a thinner piece here. So what we'll do is we'll peel this back. Okay, and we'll stick this inside the channel. Okay guys, as you can see, the bow is gone. It actually did exactly what I wanted to do. We have a nice straight angle now, angling down from here. So this tells me now, I need to bring the back up just this much to help angle this line. But at least what I had earlier was a curved bow into the rubber like this is now gone. So time to get the wrench out and push this up a little higher. Okay guys, we've got ideally kind of what we're looking for here. It's running under the channel. It's pretty even along this side here. And we're running around the corner through here, so it's pretty good. We're up in the channel, it's not too bad. However, I've got now, if you look down the side here, daylight right there. The rubber touches here, we got daylight right in there, guys. So this is what this is for. These kits come with this rubber rope, and unfortunately, to use this, we get to take the weather strip off on this side just a little bit. Okay, I've cut a couple lengths of this. Now you can use a little bit of soapy water because it'll dry up, or you can use some lithium based grease. I'm going to try this one first and just see how it goes on dry. Okay, it's better. There's still a little gap here. I've got 2 pieces of rope jammed up in here and I still cannot get this gap closed. I don't know any other way to do this, to be honest. I pretty well exhausted any kind of adjustments on this door. I tell you what, I've played with every single one of them on this driver door, and it is not working out really well. And let me show you why. Okay, so remember the disclaimer we talked about at the beginning of the video? This disclaimer it holds true in every fact whatsoever. I've played with all the adjustments possible on this door. I'm getting a good feel of how the window and the glass works. I've had to loosen these 4 here. So let me explain something real quick. This bracket is obviously what rides on your bushings, which rides on the rail. These 4 screws here, if loosened, will allow you to move the window this way on its pivot point, because this piece right here, this L bracket, if you can see it here, is affixed to the glass, and this piece is affixed to the railing. Same with here, this top piece is affixed to your slider and the rail, which is also affixed to glass, and then this piece is affixed back here to the glass itself as well. But what that means is when all four of these are loose, this bracket that holds your entire section right here to that bar in the center now becomes a loose pivot point. It can pivot this way, and it can also pivot like this. So you got adjustments that kind of wobble on its center. So imagine these four screws right here giving you the adjustment to pivot on your, well, really on your X and Y axis here. Imagine this being the center point. So it allows the window to do this and allows it to do that. That's not the only thing. And you also have, of course, I explained here and here your bump stops. So this adjusts the movement of the glass, how parallel it is here against your weather strip, and also how much in towards the weather strip it is or out from the car. As the window rolls up, it's going to hit the stop and it's going to lock into place either this way or that way. That guy and that guy adjust your stops, and that's going to be your final resting place for your window, and also what holds it strong and in place when the window is rolled all the way up. So I've had to mess with the stops. I've gone back and forth. I've been out here for about 3 or 4 days, no joke, just messing with this window, trying to get the adjustments just right. And what I have found out, oh yeah, let me explain one more adjustment. Then you got this adjustment here. This adjustment slides the entire bar. So now you're talking about moving your pivot point, or now you're talking about moving the slider bar this way and that way, which takes your whole window and moves it backwards or forward. So you can move it backwards or go up against tighter against your weather strip here, or you can move it forward to make sure you sit in the seat here, and also make sure you're in the groove right here. So I'm about to go down on this, but what I've really discovered is it doesn't matter how much I'm adjusting this. There's so much play in the door that the adjustments don't stay. I may get it close, you'll slam it. One time it'll go in like this, next time it'll go like that. And then I can't even roll the window up if I'm in the car, because the weather stripping is so new and tight that the glass is loose. It wants to do this, coming up its rail. So what's happening is it's coming up and it's sliding up against the rubber. It's catching and doing that and stopping the motor. So listen, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not a complete job. If you want to see how to adjust the windows, that's kind of what this is about. Adjustment of the windows is pretty good. I've got them as good as I can. Again, I'm compensating for bad pins in the door, and I'm compensating for, most importantly, bushings right here in your window. There are basically it's a square bushing there that rides with, it's square on the outside, center on the inside. This rail rides in it, and there's one here. So there's two per door, one there and there. Mine are so loose. Look at the play. There's your fore and aft. I mean, there's your basically your backwards and forwards, fore and aft, and then you've got your play this way. So my bushings are so incredibly worn out that these adjustments don't matter. Again, that play and that play. That's essentially your bushings, and it's also, if you were to loosen these two and these two, it's the same adjustments. So I've got it pretty good, and just for entertainment purposes, I am going to button it up and do a water test. Why not? Let's dump water on it. Pretty good feeling it's going to leak everywhere, but never know until we try. So driver's side water pour test. Here we go. Right? I anticipated a whole ton of leaks here, but especially right here. We know there's a hole there, so if anything, it's going to run down probably inside the window. Inside of the window. But yeah. Let's open the door, see if the interior's wet. Okay. Okay, that's going to conclude part 3 of the weather strip install. Like I said before, we showed you how to put the install in, showed you how to strip it out. Is it done right? You know what? Maybe. Would I do it again? Probably not. I'm definitely no car expert. I'm definitely not a restoration professional. I've never actually done this before on a box body. And I tell you what, it's tedious work. If you're the kind of guy that likes to do tedious work, go for it. If you're like me, next time I have to do something like this, I may look into paying somebody to do this for me, only because of the window adjustments. But you know what? You don't have to do that. Just keep in mind, don't do this unless your doors are built. I learned a hard lesson by basically putting the paint on a rust job. You know what I mean? Fix the rust first before you paint it. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And this is the same situation. Fix your door before you put the weather strip on. The weather strip really is the icing on top of the cake, but requires a nice strong foundation for the weather strip to even work to begin with. So dude, don't do it unless you do your door right. So if you come out with anything from this, rebuild your door, make sure your bushings are in shape, make sure your door bushings are good, then go ahead and do your weather strip. So we did everything in reverse. We're going to have to do everything again. Do everything twice, man. You try to avoid that. I do that all the time. Sometimes learning is is a process, and you learn by your mistakes. So I will be ordering some parts and stores, and I'll be rebuilding. I don't know if we do this again in hopes to give the alignment and everything look better. So that's going to conclude this series. Next time you see me, guys, it won't be weather strip. It'll be something way cooler. I got something surprise for you, something in store. So man, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram to get updates on what we're working on before they hit YouTube. And we'll see you guys next time.